Welcome to this episode of Chattin With Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Billy Rivers. What's up, Billy?
Same old thing, brother. Just loving life after the club world.
So you have a wild story. I listened to a lot of stories, and yours is quite unique.
Yeah, I guess that's why Pat Robinson, Danny Trejo, many others, Termite Watkins, the welterweight champion of the world, why they all got really interested is because of what I went through.
So where were you born and raised?
I'm born and raised New Orleans, Louisiana, in the Ninth Ward, about 8 blocks out of the French Quarter, right down close to the Mississippi River.
What was your early life like?
Well, it was a time of integration. The blacks coming into the schools and all that. And at about 9 years old, we started carrying pieces of chain in our school bag because, that didn't go over too good with the white people.
So integration really was a shock, right? It was different time back then.
A lot different in the deep South than it was really anywhere, because I don't know, the people just didn't want outsiders coming in. And I'm not a prejudiced person, really at all, but that's the way I was raised. But that don't mean I have to live like that today in my life.
Yeah, it's been a long time, but I mean, when you're raised like that and you have certain ideologies, right?
Well, yeah, when your parents and everybody teaches you one thing, you kind of lean towards that. And but it wasn't the real truth,
When was the first motorcycle you got introduced to? Were you riding really young?
I started riding when I was 6. My dad, he owned a very large construction company in New Orleans, and he had 3 superintendents, which was his brothers, my uncles. And 2 of them were 1% patch holders in New Orleans, and I'd rather not say the club's name. That's the way I was raised, by uncles, and dad is a racer. I've been in a racing family, never really football, basketball, really any of that. I was always racing on the tracks and building engines, and so it just fit. It fit very well.
So you were into the mechanic world, basically, right?
Yes, the building world, building bikes, building race cars and stuff like that.
So where does your life go from around 17, 18, 19?
Well, that was really, I would say about 16, and this is the hippie era, Woodstock, concert of Bangladesh and all this, And I was introduced, of course, smoking pot, one thing, but I was introduced to a needle with heroin in it at 15 years old.
Ooh.
And it took me a lot further than I wanted to go and kept me a lot longer than I wanted to stay.
So did it really wreck your life?
Yeah, positively. So what I did was I was on the racetrack in Tucson, Arizona, quarter-mile Harley drags. And I was beating the other 1% clubs, so Angels, the Bandits, club after club. And I was just beating the snot out of them. One of the patch holders come over to me and he said, "Can you walk over here to our pit and show us?" He said, we got something that just ain't right on, with the bike. And I walked over. The team I was actually racing with, that was their last year of racing. So they offered me to come on his pilot to drive their quarter-mile Harley. 160, 180, never reached 200, but I've been like 190. And so I didn't have to go through no prospect or anything like this because I had something they wanted.
So
And
you're
that,
a young guy. You're really young.
yeah, yeah,
Now
really
back
young.
then, what year was this? The 60s, 70s?
Okay, I got out of prison in 2002. So back up 11 years before that. And that's your answer. I'm not too good on math.
11 years, 2002, so 1991.
Yeah, that's real close, Bill.
So you were in your 20s by this time, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So that was your first introduction to the Hells Angels is the Raceway.
Yes.
Now, what was your time like hanging out with these guys? And what would you guys be doing? Did you guys do a lot of riding around the country? Like, what was your...
Yeah, we did a lot of riding in groups and stuff like this. But my main thing was working on the engines, going to the next racetrack, San Diego, Sacramento track, all over Mesa, Arizona, just traveling, running race to race, trying to build that point standing for the Grand Nationals at the end of the year. So I had something that they wanted. So I didn't go through no prospect or nothing like this. They just come and patch me completely over.
So they eventually, not right away, right? They don't hand you a patch right
No, it
away.
was a year. It was about a year later, Bill.
And so they hand you a patch. And what are your thoughts when you get a patch?
Proud, buddy. Ain't too many people get this patch. Ain't too many.
Now, are you going all over the country and meeting different people and different charters?
Positively. We was running Bangor, Maine, Long Island, New York, Jersey City, Jersey, coming back into the Oklahoma and Arizona, and of course, California is the home for the Angels.
So now, what state are you basically? What state is your home base?
Right now?
No, back then.
Oh, back then, I was Nomad, bro.
So you just traveled around?
Traveled around. I had, nice vehicle, trailer, bike on the trailer, and wherever the wind blew me, that's where I went.
So is that basically what you were doing? Is working on bikes, and that's it for a job?
Well, yeah, pretty much. And so that's how it turned into be me being a nomad. And really, what a nomad is a messenger. Okay. And I would take messages from California and I would bring them and give a message. It'd be messages that couldn't be wrote or put on telephone call or nothing like this. So I would deliver messages.
Any situations happen to you during this time that you can explain? Did the cops mess with you at all?
Yeah, yeah, a lot. As when you put that patch on, you putting a stamp on your forehead.
So have you spent a lot of time getting arrested and locked up and them taking your bike, or?
Oh, hell yeah, man. I think I set the world record, Guinness Book World Record on county jails. Rode hard, put up with many times, bro.
What about accidents? Was there any accidents that you experienced during your time?
Well, the one accident, we was racing in Mesa. No, Phoenix, excuse me. We was in Phoenix, and I had done 2 quarter-mile runs. Now we running a 200-mile-an-hour Harley, okay, and about a 4-foot wheelie bar off the back of it, and I used it too. We got up to about 150, and I shifted into fourth gear, and the back axle snapped, and when it did, the back tire went like this, and it threw me off the bike. Right at on the sign on the racetrack, it showed 168, and I left the motorcycle at 168.
Wow. So
My a bone in my neck. They had to operate on my back. They had to cut me open here, and I think it's recycled Budweiser can. They use about piece of metal about like this and this with 6 screws. So when they do an X-ray, man, I shine like a Christmas tree, homie.
recycled Budweiser. Oh man. Was that your only accident within the racing community?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, I've been pretty lucky.
What about on the road, traveling from state to state?
Just not really accidents, laying the bike down or wet road, putting the brake on a little too hard, slide, lay it over, but nothing of any injury.
And you're a mechanic, so if you ever have a problem, it's kind of like you use your ingenuity, right?
Oh yeah. I was raised up in that era.
Were you ever getting into nefarious activity once you joined these guys?
Well, once the racing come to a halt, I had a very high-ranking member come to me and said, "I got a job for you." I said, "Let's go." Well, it was transporting illegals out of Juarez across the Rio Grande to Denver, Colorado, and Nogales. So I would go to the border. There would be a coyote, bring them across the Rio Grande. I had a van, and I'd have towels because they would be soaking wet. Okay. Ice chests with sandwiches and Cokes and water, all for the people coming across. And so this last trip I took, Bill, I would only take 8 people in my van.
How much would you get paid for this?
I got for 12 and a half hours of driving, I made 4,700 cash and a half ounce of coke, 82% pure coke.
That's a nice payday, man.
Pretty nice payday. Better than racing.
So you're like, I'll do this as much as you want, right?
So this is the last trip I took before everything went crazy. So they come across the Rio Grande. I got towels, I drive, and they had 2 children about this tall. I guess they would be 6, 7 years old. And I set them at the back door, 2 back doors of the van. Well, the other grown-ups was sitting on the side, and I had blankets laid out, everything clean for them. And so I had done made this trip from Juarez, El Paso, to Denver, Colorado, 7 times before. Well, I started getting a little too frequent coming through there, and they got to notice in the van, did a license plate ran, and it come back registered to a Hell's Angel. And they knew I was transporting either guns or drugs or both. So the federal authority put an order out. I went through, Las Cruces. There's an immigrant checkpoint and it's a produce checkpoint on 10 headed into Cali. And they check 18-wheelers for infestation. Well, they have a license plate reader. The trucks go here and the cars can just come in and leave out and get back. Well, the license plate reader flagged a red flag.
So do you think you should have took a different vehicle, maybe with different plates, and things would be different?
Looking back on it now, Bill, yes.
Did you have any weapons or any on you?
Nothing.
No.
Nope. All I had was my backpack and a Bible. I still got the Bible that was in that truck, in my truck right now today. One of the federal authorities, in fact, he was an FBI agent, come walking up. I'm in the cell, and he had the Bible in his hand. And that's the Bible that was in my van when the shooting happened. And he said, "You're going to need this."
All right, so you're at the checkpoint, right? You start pulling up to the checkpoint, and what happens?
All right. Now we go through the checkpoint, Bill. We get back on 10 West. Well, I got to noticing all these cars parked on the side and all this. And I said, "Oh, this ain't going to be good." I mean, just instant experience. I said, "This ain't going to be good." Well, the higher up gave an order. I was considered armed and dangerous. They knew I was Hell's Angel. Shoot the tires out of the van. They had no idea I had 8 live people in that van. They thought it was or whatever. And they started shooting to shoot the tires out, put 47 bullet holes through my van and killed the 2 babies sitting at the back door.